Chris, today you must officially join our student union, okay? Drew Benke spoke with the overeagerness of a little kid. I've submitted your credentials for review, as well as the details of the junior you recommended to have parking privileges with you. You can't decline this time, can you? All right, Chris nodded. He was uncertain whether Olivia would react with happiness or anger when the time came to tell her he had tried to get her a parking spot on campus. This untamed kitten was exceptionally peculiar. He couldn't fathom her mood or predict her actions, but the more enigmatic she was, the more she captivated Chris. Upon returning to class, Jeremy stared intently at the book before him, his eyes fixed ahead. He had commissioned an investigation into Chris and never anticipated the extent of what this little background check would uncover. It extended way beyond his family and hinted at just how powerful Chris Jones actually was. Only 2 individuals that Jeremy ever came across had street nicknames, and one of them was someone Jeremy preferred not to mention. The other was Chris. He also hadn't foreseen that Olivia was Chris's fiancée. Although he had speculated on Olivia and Chris's relationship, he didn't expect it to transcend that of mere boyfriend-girlfriend or friends with benefits. His heart ached with bitterness, engulfed in a surge of anguish that made it hard to breathe. He shook his head, attempting to expel Olivia's face and smile from his mind. Yet when he turned his head, he discovered she had returned to her seat and was sitting beside him now. "Thank you for taking notes for me while I was gone," Olivia said. Jeremy remained silent, merely accepting the thanks from her. His nails grazed her delicate skin as he handed over his paper so she could copy his notes, and he sensed a rush of warmth and electricity coursing through his heart. This is too much, Jeremy thought. I can't be into her. I can't keep being into her, especially now that I know she's with Chris. Frustrated, he rested his head on the table. Perhaps he was unwell. Olivia wasn't paying attention to her deskmate's thoughts, however, because she had focused all her attention on her friend Wendy, who had arrived very, very late to school that day. When Wendy walked in, she apologized to the teacher for her tardiness and took her seat. She was quiet, but her eyes were puffy and red like she'd been crying. Olivia scowled. What's going on? She wondered. She leaned over closer towards Wendy's desk until she was close enough to read her friend's thoughts. With no further school events or activities in November, students could finally focus on their studies again, which felt like a relief for Wendy. But in the blink of an eye, December arrived, accompanied by 2 consecutive days of rain and a drastic temperature drop in New York City. Numerous students fell ill with colds, but Wendy and her mom faced an even more dire calamity. They resided in a modest rented apartment that was too hot in the winters because they didn't have access to the furnace controls that controlled their building, so they often had to leave their windows open a crack in order to regulate the temperature inside their apartment. Olivia, unable to watch her friend worry any longer, walked over to her as soon as the teacher gave everyone a study break and asked, "Hey, you okay, Wendy? What's wrong?" Wendy shook her head. "No. A burglar broke into my house over the weekend while my mom and I were celebrating Thanksgiving with our cousins in the Bronx." She started crying. And it unfortunately coincided with our first month's rent being due. But they literally stole my mom's cash and all her jewelry, and they took her debit card and withdrew a bunch of money because she had her PIN number written in her planner, which was silly, but whatever. And God, she's already struggling as it is." Wendy shook her head, tears streaming down her face. "And we have the worst, ill-tempered landlady. She said since my mom was unable to produce the funds on the 1st of the month, she was going to initiate eviction proceedings. She didn't even give us a day." "What? A break-in?" Olivia was taken aback. "Wen, I'm so sorry." "Me too." Wendy nibbled her lower lip. Her hands were fidgeting restlessly. "My mom and I locked the doors every night, yet we kept one small window open while we left to eat dinner. The money my mom saved for rent was stolen, and now the landlord wants us out." Olivia furrowed her brow upon hearing this. Wendy found herself with no choice but to turn to Olivia for help, and Olivia could see how hard it was for her to even bring this up. It brought shame to Wendy to discuss herself and her mom's misfortunes. In the past few days, Desiree's work had dried up, and she had exhausted her efforts to secure loans, receiving responses initially, but none thereafter. Wendy couldn't help but feel disappointed. With no alternatives left, she had no choice but to approach Olivia for financial assistance. Recalling Olivia's assurance that if she ever needed money, Olivia would even borrow on her behalf, Wendy wondered if those words still held weight. After a sigh and a shake of her head, Wendy summoned her courage. No one was obligated to help anyone else. After all, no one in this world owes anyone. Yet how would the mother and daughter endure this winter? "Liv, could you lend me some money?" Wendy looked down embarrassed. Her cheeks were bright red. "We'll definitely return it next month." Wendy's face reddened an even darker shade of maroon. It was the first time she had sought to borrow money from Olivia, and the amount wasn't insignificant. Her throat tightened with discomfort, exasperated by the pressing urgency. If they had any other option, she wouldn't have mustered the courage to ask. "Of course," Olivia said. "I know you would do the same for me." Olivia wanted her friend to feel dignified and felt this might help. "I totally would," Wendy nodded, though she still was riddled with shame. While walking from school to her driver's car, Olivia contemplated Wendy's situation. In her previous life, she wasn't very close to Wendy, but Wendy had nonetheless steadfastly chosen to believe in her during her most embarrassing moments. This act of kindness would forever be etched in Olivia's memory. "You were kind to me when I was at my lowest back then," she thought, "and so I'll return the favor to you." Olivia knew how to tell who was good and who was bad in this life now. She knew whom to reward and to whom she would dole out punishment. Desiree and Wendy's current apartment was in the same general area as the house where Olivia and Victoria used to live, albeit a slightly better neighborhood. Still, that area was notorious for its crime and disorderness. The security was abysmal, and the apartment itself was old and dilapidated. It was simply an unsuitable environment for two women to live alone, clearly. Victoria had already moved to a new neighborhood, which was conveniently close to Marshall High School. The security there was good, and the surroundings were lush with greenery. Her apartment building even had an elevator. What if I suggest that Wendy and her mom move in with my mom, or at least into her building? Upon arriving home, Olivia immediately called Victoria. At the time, Victoria was still on the subway home, and her voice was slightly muffled by the background noise. She promised to call Olivia later, and hung up just as one of Michael's maids summoned Olivia to come downstairs for dinner. As Olivia descended the stairs, she overheard Monica's boisterous laughter, indicating that her mood was uncharacteristically cheerful. "Somebody's not being a whiny little princess," Olivia thought. "To what do we owe the pleasure of seeing such a rare sight?" "Dad, it's settled then. Don't back out," Monica was playfully saying, her voice filled with sweetness. "All right, it's a deal," Michael affirmed. "Honey, don't you spoil her too much." Rachel's voice carried a gentle tone, tinged with a teasing hint of warning. "No, I have nothing scheduled for tomorrow afternoon," Michael replied with a smile. Curious about the source of their happiness, Olivia approached the dining table with an equally disarming smile and casually inquired, "What's going on? Why are you so happy?" "Monica only has a half day of school tomorrow, so your stepmother and I promised to take her to the amusement park in the afternoon," Michael exclaimed. "Liv, do you have any free time tomorrow?" The maid, who was standing nearby, saw Olivia approaching and pulled out a chair for her. Olivia sat down and placed her hands on the table before responding. "I'm afraid I won't have any free time. I have a full day of classes tomorrow." "What a pity," Rachel lamented, though her eyes revealed a sense of joy. Monica unclenched her tightly clenched fist, which had been tense with anticipation, and beamed with a smile. "Oh, that's too bad, sissy. Don't worry though, we'll take plenty of photos for you to see." After the maid served some salad, Olivia picked up her fork and smiled. "Oh no, it's okay, there's no need. I'm not interested in amusement parks. I've always thought those are for children." She shot her sister with a withering glance. "Ah-ha-ha." Monica observed Olivia's reaction and chuckled with a sense of self-satisfaction. "If you say so, but we all like them." Her father and mother were the ones taking her to the amusement park. Olivia was just an extraneous little outcast who would be left behind at home. It was about time Olivia realized her place. "That's right," Rachel chimed in, trying to suppress her desire to slap Olivia. She gritted her teeth and put on a smile. "And please don't insinuate your sister is immature, Liv," she scolded. "Yes, you should mind your words," Michael interjected, believing it necessary to address Olivia. Olivia was surprised. What was happening? First, people were ridiculing her at school, and now her father was siding with Rachel against her? Was the tide turning against her suddenly? "Liv, you can behave this way at home, but not outside," Michael admonished. Olivia tried to remain calm. "Dad, when have I ever embarrassed you in public?" Considering that Michael couldn't recall such an incident, he nodded and refrained from saying anything further. "I only meant that I personally thought amusement parks were for younger people, because I only went as a special occasion when I was little. That's all." Michael nodded and seemed to accept this, so he dropped the topic. Observing Monica's displeasure at Michael's leniency towards Olivia, Rachel hastily intervened. She saw through Olivia's intention and was concerned that Monica might fall into Olivia's trap. Rachel signaled Monica to focus on her food and flashed her a meaningful look. "Oh," Monica pouted and mechanically picked up her fork to scoop salad into her bowl, but her appetite was spoiled, so she threw her fork down. Olivia had managed to ruin her good mood for the day. "What's the matter?" Olivia noticed Monica's behavior and frowned. "Why are you throwing utensils? I thought we were done doing that. It might be acceptable at home, but what about when we go out?" Olivia used this as an excuse to scold Monica openly. Glancing at Monica's changing expression, Olivia didn't forget to glance at Michael. "Dad, don't you think I'm right?" "Yes," Michael nodded. "Monica, eat your meal properly. You shouldn't be so unruly." Monica blushed upon hearing her father's words. How had Olivia turned this around on her so quickly? "It's just that easy," Olivia thought, smirking as she watched Monica's thoughts. Suppressing her laughter, Olivia raised a bowl of soup to her mouth to conceal the curve of her lips. Her eyes gleamed with amusement as she watched Monica closely. "Olivia, you—" Monica's anger towards Olivia surged instantly. "Monica?" Rachel swiftly interrupted Monica, cautioning her to focus on her food. She even shot her another warning look. "Just focus on eating. If you don't behave, your father and I won't take you to the amusement park." Rachel understood Olivia's manipulative intentions all too well, but she knew she had to play the game. Olivia wanted Monica to misbehave and, as a result, provoke Michael into canceling their trip tomorrow out of anger. After Rachel's reminder, Monica trembled, realizing Olivia's ulterior motive. Understanding the situation, Monica glared at Olivia and said, "I'm sorry, Liv. Thank you for the reminder. I won't behave like this in the future. I guess sometimes we both need reminders to be our best selves, huh?" Olivia gritted her teeth. "I guess so," Olivia responded, trying to remain unfazed by her failed plan, and continued to eat with a smile. Both Rachel and Olivia had become more astute. Rachel, in particular, is able to decipher my motives instantly. It seemed that the lesson Rachel learned about not meddling in my business too out in the open had served her well. Olivia smiled at Rachel, but inwardly, she wondered what new tactics she would have to employ in the ongoing war of attrition she now found herself in against Rachel and her idiot daughter. After finishing her meal, Monica sulked alone in her room, discontent. Sensing her unhappiness, Rachel knocked on the door, then came in and seated herself beside Monica. "What's troubling you?" she inquired. "Didn't your father promise to accompany you to the amusement park? Why aren't you delighted?" Why does Olivia have such a vulgar mouth? Monica clenched her teeth, her face consumed by hatred. How audacious of that wretched girl to try and talk back to them. Pay no attention to her, she's simply envious of you. Rachel reassured her daughter while gently stroking Monica's head. Your father will indeed take you to the amusement park tomorrow. You must behave well. By doing so, he will be inclined to bring you along again in the future. Pausing for a moment, Rachel sighed. It's just that you're too naive, my dear. Unlike Olivia, who knows how to manipulate situations, she plots to ensnare you while your father is busy performing. If I hadn't intervened today, you might have unintentionally said something inappropriate again. Monica stuck out her tongue and hung her head low, murmuring apologetically, Sorry, Mommy. I'm not scolding you, my dear. You must strive to regulate your emotions as best you can. Even if faced with an insurmountable obstacle, you must maintain a composed demeanor. Think before you speak, and consider why the other person might have angered you, Rachel advised. I understand, Mommy, Monica responded, pursing her lips and humbly accepting Rachel's guidance. Good girl. Now focus on your studies and then on getting a good night's sleep. Mommy is going to return to her room. Rachel affectionately gazed at Monica. She loved her daughter dearly and vowed to protect her from any harm, especially from that despicable Olivia. As she contemplated this, Rachel's thoughts turned to the upcoming birthday celebration of the patriarch of the Cooper family, just 5 days away. At that time, she and her niece Beatrix would join forces from within to eliminate that wretched individual Olivia. Meanwhile, in her own room, Olivia suddenly shivered inexplicably. She rubbed her arms and turned up the temperature on the air conditioner on the wall of her bedroom. It's getting colder and colder here as winter crawls on. As this thought crossed her mind, she couldn't help but think about Wendy. Wendy's place must be even colder now. The phone rang, and Olivia picked it up after checking the caller ID, answering, Hello, Mom. Liv, dear. Victoria's voice sounded slightly fatigued. Did you call me a little bit earlier today? Yeah, I wanted to tell you that Wendy and Desiree's house was burglarized, and the landlord wants to evict them. Do you think it would be convenient for them to stay at our place? Olivia shared her thoughts. I can offer them my room. The line went silent for a moment. Then Victoria replied, I suppose so, sure. All right, I'll inform Wendy tomorrow and offer to help them move as soon as possible, Olivia said with a smile. She still had the contact information of the moving company she and Victoria used in Victoria's move. Okay, go ahead. I'll tidy up your room tonight, Victoria responded, taking a deep breath. Mom, your voice sounds strange. What's wrong? Olivia felt a hint of unease. What happened? It's nothing, Victoria replied, placing a hand on her stomach. I'm not sure if it was something I ate, but my stomach is aching a bit. Plus, the subway ride was bumpy and I feel slightly nauseous. Have you taken any Advil or Tylenol or something? Olivia worriedly inquired. Should we go to the hospital? No need, Victoria replied with a faint smile. I should be fine. I'll buy some medication downstairs. There's a pharmacy nearby. Okay, then please take care. If anything happens, let me know immediately, Olivia urged, concerned for her mother's well-being. All right, Victoria agreed before saying, Don't worry. After reminding Olivia to study diligently and promising to take care of her own health, Victoria hung up the phone. Olivia held the phone against her chest, feeling a sense of unease. She couldn't recall anything like this happening in her previous life, where Victoria had any serious illness. She took a deep breath, attempting to reassure herself. She should be fine after taking some medicine, right? Before going to sleep, she planned to call Victoria again to check up on her condition. Knock, knock, knock. 3 gentle knocks resonated at the door. Who is it? Olivia directed her gaze toward the door. Come in. Miss, your father requests your presence in his study. A maid informed her deferentially while bowing. Oh, thank you, Olivia responded, adjusting her hair in the mirror. She exited the room and ascended the stairs to Michael's study, gently tapping the door a few times. Come in, Michael beckoned. Olivia pushed open the door and poked her head inside. Dad, did you call for me? Yes. Michael gestured for Olivia to approach. Take a look at these dresses. Ah. Olivia acknowledged and closed the door behind her before walking over. What are all these dresses all doing here? In 5 days, it will be Rachel's father's birthday celebration. He is my father-in-law, so you will be attending as well, as a member of our family. I had my driver on Sapar pick up these 5 dresses from some high-end stylist downtown, so you can pick one to wear. Michael explained. Choose the one you like. He lacked confidence since the incident when he bought Monica a school bag that she dismissed as trash, which deeply saddened him. He also didn't want there to be a huge debacle over picking a dress, since there had been a whole fiasco around Olivia's dress back when she picked one out for Rachel's birthday. So he took care of securing his daughter an outfit himself this time. Oh, I see, Olivia said as she nonchalantly placed her phone on the table. She circled the desk and leaned over toward Michael to inspect the dresses more closely. Each image exuded beauty and elegance, exquisitely complementing her skin tone and hair color. The design showcased a refined and tasteful style. Well, Olivia began to speak but caught herself just in time. She felt a shiver run down her spine. Actually, why don't you choose for me? Better to make him feel included and valued, Olivia thought. Me? Michael's eyes lit up. You want me to help you decide? Yes. Olivia smiled and nodded. I have faith in your judgment. Michael hesitated for a moment before pointing to a dress he had in mind. He wasn't entirely certain about it. What about this one? This one? Olivia saw that Michael was referring to the set she had initially chosen and smiled. This one looks perfect. It suits my skin tone beautifully, and the design of the collar is rather modest. In truth, I don't fancy overly revealing outfits. Thank you, Dad. Olivia gushed with a smile. I'm glad you like it. Michael's voice sounded more confident now. Yes, I love it, Olivia affirmed. Thank you again so much. Michael smiled and added, There's one more thing. He set aside the gown and continued, Do you have any preferences regarding tutoring? Are you planning to arrange a tutor for me? Olivia was surprised, and she thought her father hadn't taken a huge interest in her studies or grades. Absolutely. Do you have any specific requests? Please feel free to let me know. Michael replied with a smile, emphasizing his respect for his daughter's opinion. Olivia nodded and said, I'm fine, just as long as the teacher is a woman. She simply wanted a female teacher to avoid any potential criticism that Rachel might use against her. The last thing I need is Rachel accusing me or my tutor of anything untoward, or trying to diminish my reputation in any way. Lord knows Rachel would try anything if she could. Michael was taken aback. Is it really that simple? He asked in surprise. That's really your only request? Olivia smiled confidently and said, Yep. I know you will undoubtedly provide me with the best teacher. I believe that you wouldn't settle for anything less. Very well. Michael expressed his satisfaction with a nod. Go back to your room and get some rest. You have classes tomorrow, so don't stay up too late. Okay, Dad, Olivia acknowledged, nodding before turning to leave Michael's room. As he observed Olivia's departing figure, Michael couldn't help but appreciate his daughter's unwavering graciousness and poise. He also couldn't help but notice the stark difference in both his daughters' personalities. While Olivia displayed a magnanimous and reserved demeanor, only occasionally speaking without much thought, Monica, on the other hand, appeared innocent and immature, but had an arrogant temper, and often seemed so spoiled. Michael sighed and shook his head, finding it rather perplexing. Neither he nor Rachel possessed these personality traits. How could Monica turn out this way? Meanwhile, Olivia always seemed to have traces of Victoria in her behavior. The thought of Victoria darkened Michael's eyes momentarily, but he quickly regained his composure. He chided himself for dwelling on the past when he had promised not to. Shaking his head, he tidied up his desk, finally finishing his work. It was time to fulfill his duties as a husband and spend the night with Rachel. However, before he could tidy up completely, a phone on the edge of the desk began to ring. Michael glanced at the phone and chuckled, muttering, "This child, always so careless." It was likely that Olivia had left the phone behind, but who would be calling her at this late hour? Seeing an unfamiliar number without a caller ID, Michael's heart raced. Given that Olivia was a young girl, could it be a young boy she had a crush on? Before he let himself worry, or let his curiosity get the better of him, he stopped himself from prying into Olivia's privacy any further. With that in mind, Michael ended the call by pressing ignore, and then let out a sigh. Taking a deep breath, he decided to return the phone to Olivia. But just as he was about to take a step, the phone rang again, and it was the same unidentified number. Oh dear. Michael felt a growing unease. Nevertheless, he mustered his resolve and pressed the ignore button. Before he could leave the desk, the persistent phone rang once more. Michael frowned, contemplating for a while before finally answering. Whoever this was, they were quite persistent, and Michael wasn't sure he wanted his daughter to be with someone so aggressive. Michael prepared himself for whatever awaited on the other end of the line. If his daughter was involved in a relationship with someone he disapproved of, who called over and over impulsively from blocked numbers, he would not allow it. He had to speak with Olivia about it. How could she be burdened with such thoughts at this stage in her life? Michael remained silent, hoping to discern the caller's identity from their voice alone. "Is this Victoria Park's daughter?" a young woman's voice inquired. She sounded like she was in her 20s. "You are Victoria Park's emergency contact, and your mother fainted and was taken to the hospital. Hurry, and please come now." What? Michael's mind went blank. What did you say? The nurse on the other end of the line seemed momentarily surprised to hear Michael's voice. After a brief pause, she clarified, Is this her daughter's phone? Is this a household phone line? Are you her husband? Please, come quickly." All right, hold on, I'll be right there." Michael hung up on the phone and rushed out of the study. He didn't even bother grabbing his coat as he hurriedly left his mansion and bypassed his drivers. Instead, he got in a car himself and headed towards the city to see Victoria in the hospital. Observing the scene from the main bedroom's window, Rachel was stunned when she saw Michael's abrupt departure. What had happened? Were they planning to spend the night together? She had set everything up so nicely. The lights and room temperature adjusted, the aroma of incense filling the air, flower petals scattered in the bathroom, and Rachel wearing her newly purchased pajamas. Why did Michael suddenly drive away? A sense of unease filled Rachel's heart. She bit her lower lip and watched as the car's taillights grew distant until they disappeared entirely. Gripping the curtains tightly, she softly whispered, "Michael." By the time Michael reached the hospital, Victoria's surgery had already been completed. It seemed she had an acute appendicitis, the doctor informed Michael, mistaking him for Victoria's current husband. So it wasn't as major or serious as a procedure as it could have been, but thanks to the prompt action of the medical staff, we were able to take care of it before there was a rupture or a real risk of infection. Michael expressed his gratitude multiple times. "You're welcome. You're welcome." The doctor waved his hand. "We're all part of the same community, and we should take care of our neighbors." "Thank you so much." Michael thanked him sincerely. He then inquired about Victoria's fainting spell and the circumstances that led her to the hospital. The doctor explained, Tonight, she went to the pharmacy near her apartment, complaining of feeling nauseous after eating something that didn't agree with her. When the pharmacist noticed something was off with her complexion, he took her temperature and found she had a low-grade fever. Just as he was preparing medicine for her, she suddenly collapsed. It startled the pharmacist, who then called the emergency services, and because she was alone when she fainted, the paramedics arrived and brought her here to the hospital, where she underwent emergency surgery. Michael's gaze shifted slightly. Victoria used to feed stray cats and dogs frequently, even though she had been scratched by them several times, much to his dismay. However, it seemed her caring nature hadn't changed. She was always someone who put others before herself, so it was no wonder she had neglected to consider her own pain until it was unbearable. "Oh, by the way," the doctor said, curiosity evident in his voice, "are you her husband?" Michael hesitated for a moment before answering, "I am her ex-husband." He didn't bother to explain they had never been married. "I see," the doctor acknowledged, respecting their privacy. He shook his head and sighed. "Well, we don't normally. You know the policy is family only. But since you were her emergency contact, well, anyway, she's down the hall. That way. Room 206. He pointed the way before a nurse suddenly called him away. "Excuse me, I have to see another patient." With that, he bid Michael farewell and fled down the hall in a hurry. Michael felt a bitter taste in his mouth. He hated having to say he was her ex. He felt bad for the way things had turned out. He couldn't stomach the idea of her fainting all alone. Turning towards the hospital room, he approached and stood beside Victoria's bedside, observing her pale complexion. Michael clenched his fists, a whirlwind of emotions surging within him. He couldn't find the words to say, but there was an overwhelming sense of helplessness within him. How could he have not realized that Victoria was an exceptional woman all those years ago? Sitting quietly by the bedside, Michael tentatively reached out his hand, gently brushing Victoria's forehead. He then adjusted the corner of her blanket. It was reminiscent of the care he had once provided her when she was unwell. Perhaps due to the anesthesia wearing off, Victoria slowly opened her eyes. The world before her gradually came into focus. Seeing Michael seated by her bed, she appeared bewildered for a moment before asking, "Why are you here?" The tenderness in Michael's heart turned into silence. He raised the corner of his mouth slightly and replied, "Why don't you tell me why you're here?" Victoria detected the strong scent of disinfectant as she heard Michael's question. She glanced around, vaguely remembering her fainting episode at the pharmacy while buying medicine. When her gaze returned to Michael, a thought struck her, and she nervously inquired, "Why are you here? Where is Liv? She doesn't know about this, right?" "No, she doesn't. When the nurse called, her phone was left in my study," Michael replied. "I didn't tell her because I didn't know what had happened, and I was terrified." His words got caught in his throat. "I wanted to make sure I knew what was going on before I scared her unnecessarily. You fainted because your appendix almost burst. You're okay, though. They removed it. You just need to rest while you recover." Phew. Victoria heaved a sigh of relief, grateful that Olivia was spared from worrying about her any further. "Now that you're awake, I'll take my leave," Michael remarked, observing Victoria's stable condition. "Okay, thank you." Victoria nodded, her face expressing a touch of awkwardness. "Very well." Michael cast a meaningful glance at Victoria before rising from his seat, concern evident in his eyes. "But Victoria, please take care of yourself. Promise me you will." Just then, a nurse hurried into the room, explaining, "Ah, perfect, you're awake." Then she turned to Michael and pointed him towards the machine showing Victoria's vitals. "As a family member, do you mind monitoring your wife's body temperature while you're here? This right here tells us her temperature. We need to note it down every half hour to make sure she doesn't have any sepsis infection. If it exceeds 102 degrees, promptly notify us by ringing the bell, all right? Sorry, we're so understaffed because the building collapsed over on 42nd. Michael was momentarily taken aback, but nodded before the nurse quickly rushed from the room. He didn't know about any building collapse, but realized the waiting room was teeming with patients. He also realized that he couldn't leave Victoria just yet, because who would make sure to look after her with the nurses so busy? Curiously, he felt a sense of relief. Victoria, too, was surprised by the turn of events. Observing Michael resuming his seat beside her, she shifted her gaze awkwardly. Both of them found themselves at a loss for words. After a brief silence, Victoria muttered, "Thank you," her face slightly blushing. Michael couldn't help but burst into laughter at the sight, finding amusement in his own childishness despite his age. "Why are you laughing?" Victoria grew unhappy. Her brows furrowed as she scolded him. "Why can't I laugh?" Michael felt unjustly accused. What was wrong with a simple smile? "Well, you shouldn't laugh at me," Victoria asserted, her face pale from the recent surgery. "I'm not laughing at you, No, sorry, I guess I just felt slightly at a loss for words. Seems maybe fate's keeping me here watching over you tonight." "Guess so," Victoria nodded. Once again, they found themselves without words. The atmosphere in the room became not only awkward, but also tinged with tension. At that moment, Michael's phone vibrated in his pocket. Retrieving it, he glanced at the caller ID and was momentarily stunned before answering. "Hello?" "Hi, honey. I went to the study to find you just now, but you weren't there. Where did you go so late at night?" Rachel, curled up by the window in the master bedroom, appeared visibly anxious. She feared Michael had gone to find Victoria. Michael glanced at Victoria, then turned slightly, speaking in a hushed voice. "A friend underwent surgery and was hospitalized. I came to visit her." "A friend? Which friend?" Rachel's eyes flickered with suspicion, her trust wavering. "Just an old friend. I'm currently at the hospital in the city. We can talk about it when I return." Michael decided to keep it brief. "Oh." Rachel remained skeptical. "When will you be back?" "In over an hour. The family members aren't here, so the nurse asked me to keep an eye on things," Michael responded. "All right." Rachel felt relieved upon hearing this. "Please be careful." "Okay," Michael acknowledged and added, "Go to bed early, don't wait for me." Even if he returned home that night, he doubted he would be in the mood to stay up and discuss where he'd been. "Okay?" Rachel's heart filled with a sense of loss. Since Olivia arrived, Michael hasn't even touched me, Rachel thought. I am a normal woman with normal desires. The resentment towards Olivia grew stronger in her heart. That girl must still be scheming to snatch her father away from me and hoping to get him back with Victoria. Rachel vowed to take good care of Michael and ensure he never learned about exactly what happened 17 years ago. After ending the call, Michael exhaled deeply, feeling a weight lift off his shoulders. While the breakup had severed their ties, he always thought of Victoria as an old friend in his mind. The realization brought him a newfound sense of relief, and he let go of his sulking. In fact, he took the initiative and asked, "Are you thirsty, Vic? Shall I fetch you a glass of water?" "No need," Victoria responded, her tone tinged with mockery. "Old friend." "Guilty." Michael smiled, embarrassed. "You can't tell your wife about me, can you?" Victoria, feeling hurt, said. She didn't want him to stay if he didn't want to, nor did she want him to make her his dirty little secret that he kept from Rachel. After all, it wasn't her idea for him to come. She had just undergone surgery. "If you can't be honest about your being here, maybe you shouldn't be here in the first place," she suggested. "All right, fine, I'll leave." Michael stood up. If she wanted to treat him so dismissively despite his good intentions, why should he stay? He was truly foolish coming here. "I'll leave." With that, he turned and walked out of her hospital room. Biting her lower lip, Victoria fought back tears. Clenching her fist tightly, As the pain from her abdominal wound intensified, sucking in a sharp breath, she struggled to regulate her breathing, trying to calm herself. She had endured all these years, enduring bitterness and fatigue solely for her daughter's sake. There was no need to cry over him anymore. Hadn't she already made up her mind 17 years ago? Suddenly, the scene from 17 years ago replayed before her eyes. She tightened her fist, anger consuming her as she declared, "Michael, I've already decided to leave. Remember this henceforth. You shall walk your own path and I shall walk mine. I will have nothing to do with you anymore." "Wife, you—" Michael stared at her, eyes filled with shock. "Michael, I promise I will hate you for the rest of your life." Through gritted teeth, Victoria uttered those few words resolutely before decisively leaving the Johnson residence. All those years ago, she had declared that there was no longer any connection between them. She had sworn to hate him for the rest of her life. That's what she had said. And yet, well, did she still hate him? Closing her eyes, Victoria felt exhausted and drifted off to sleep. It was all she could do to push the bad memories of how they ended from her mind. When Victoria woke up, Michael was standing by her side. "Didn't you leave?" she asked. "Why have you returned? Is everything all right?" Michael's face still held a tinge of anger as he roughly extended his hand toward Victoria, before pointing beyond her to the machine monitoring her vitals. "Someone should be here to monitor your temperature." Back at the Johnson mansion, Olivia was about to call Victoria after finishing her bath when she realized that she had left her phone in Michael's study. "Damn it," she thought, pulling on her pajamas and making the long, laborious trek down 3 flights of stairs to her dad's office. "His house is so big," she thought. Knocking on the door and then cautiously entering the study, she discovered that Michael was not present. Her phone was left alone on his desk. When she attempted to call her mother, she discovered Victoria's phone was turned off because it went straight to voicemail. Maybe Mom is already sleeping. Olivia pondered for a moment and decided that she would personally visit the next day to check on Victoria and take Wendy along to see the apartment. With her decision made, Olivia felt a sense of relief. The following day, as soon as Olivia entered Marshall High School's South Gate, she spotted Wendy. After exchanging greetings, she shared her thoughts with Wendy. "So, my mom and I talked, and we think you and your mom should come move in with her. You guys can stay in my room, and with the extra den and stuff, there's plenty of room. At least until your mom has enough to get a new place. At the very least, you can look for something nearer to school for the next few weeks, and I can help." Wendy remained stunned for a while before regaining her composure. She shook her head in disbelief. "Really?" "Yes, of course. Would I joke about it?" Olivia shook her head with amusement. "Do you and your mom have anything major to pack? I can give you the name of the movers who helped us, and I can cover that with some of my allowance." "Olivia," Wendy interjected, "I couldn't ask that of you." Shush, I want to help," Olivia insisted. "I love helping someone who deserves it. Plus, I know one day you will be stronger, and you will repay me when you are back on solid ground. Besides, if I don't use my allowance, then Monica or Rachel would. And they spend my dad's money on frivolous stuff. So it might as well go to something good, right?" She giggled. "So how about after school today, I'll take you to see my mom's place so you can get a sense of it and familiarize yourself with the route. I also have to make a phone call to the moving company. They will come on Saturday to deliver everything you guys pick up." "Really?" Wendy still couldn't believe her luck. She had already given up hope that her life might ever improve. "Yes, now would you stop acting silly?" Olivia playfully reached out and poked Wendy's head. "Did a thief steal your brain while you were asleep? You gotta trust that there are good people in this world who are willing to help you." This time around, Olivia thought to herself, in my life, I'm going to show the good people who treat me well just how much I appreciate them. And everyone else? Well, they'll get theirs too. Liv, Wendy finally gushed and hugged Olivia. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. She was overflowing with joy. It's all good. Olivia understood Wendy's excitement, and seeing her so happy brought joy to her as well. What are you two doing? Millie, who was carrying her school bag, stepped back in surprise upon witnessing the scene. Are you two about to tell me you're dating now? Good one. Olivia waved her hand. Come on, let's get to class. The three girls headed into the school building in the morning sunlight. Unbeknownst to them, they had caught the attention of two middle-aged men in the principal's office on the 5th floor. Principal Yan, our young students seem to be very happy. It seems our school year is going quite well, the one man on the left said. Yes, Principal Yan nodded, a smile appearing on his face. I would be inclined to agree with you. Tell me, Adrian, how is the charity partnership with that climate organization going? And the selection for the campus model? Principal Yan changed the topic and inquired. It's going better than expected. Adrian Tajiri, the campus director of communications, replied. We have already raised $34,000. We're on track to making nearly $100,000 by the time of the event. Good. Principal Yan nodded. Very good indeed. You will personally oversee this matter, won't you? Don't let anyone else interfere. It's a charity with a lot of buzz, and you can't afford to miss out on any potential fundraising opportunities. Understood. Adrian got Principal Yan's concerns. He had been close with the principal's own family since he could remember. His father served as the Principal Yan's father's family's housekeeper, and now his brother had taken over the position. It was Principal Yan who had seen how ambitious Adrian was and offered him a position at the school. He hoped to continue assisting Principal Yan in his work, growing the high school's reputation even more. Yes. Principal Yan felt relieved that Adrian was handling the matter. He sighed and asked, How's your daughter doing? She's studying abroad in France. She's unwilling to come back. Adrian found himself in a dilemma. She's not coming back for the new year? Principal Yan frowned. She's not. Adrian shook his head. Recalling his daughter's resolute tone during their phone call yesterday, he awkwardly paused and said, My little girl might need some time to calm down after I told her sternly that I'm cutting her off unless she comes home. She needs time to calm down. Principal Yan raised his voice several notches before snorting coldly. She has become too accustomed to lawlessness. Principal Yan's own children seemed to become more rebellious each day themselves. Each one of them left him disappointed. Well, except for his daughter Millie, who was adopted. She was the only one who made him feel the most at ease and proud. What kind of punishment is this? He thought. My own children, my own flesh and blood leave me irritated. But the one who isn't even mine by birth is the source of all my pride. It's a cruel joke. Ugh, he sighed. He watched his adopted daughter disappear into the school, alongside her friends, and decided to drop the subject, instead returning to the topic of the charity event. After the last morning class bell rang, the students stretched and called out to their friends to have lunch together. Olivia, Millie, and the others walked out of the classroom with smiles. They noticed Chris waiting for Olivia. Olivia was taken aback when she saw him. Usually they all gathered in the cafeteria, so it was unusual for Chris to seek her out beforehand. What's the matter? Olivia asked, looking at Chris. I have something to tell you. Come with me, Chris said. His face looked serious, and it sent a shiver down Olivia's spine. All right, Olivia nodded, uncertain, and handed her wallet to Wendy. Can you grab some food for me? Sure, what do you want to eat? Wendy asked. I want the fried chicken or maybe a hot dog. Olivia replied. Me too, Chris added, handing Wendy his credit card. I'll buy lunch for all of us. Get whatever you want. Then he looked at Olivia. Let's go. You're just going to pay for all of us? Olivia looked up at Chris. Isn't that what you do when you have an Amex Black Card? Chris seemed to take it for granted. Olivia rolled her eyes. He really was something else. Let's go. Chris tugged at Olivia's arm, pulling her along. Millie and Wendy smiled as they watched the two of them walk away. This couple is truly intriguing, Wendy mused. Can you imagine their wedding? Millie replied. Yeah, Olivia will be rolling her eyes, pretending she hates it, while looking at him all googly-eyed. And they'll be surrounded by like 900,000 red and white roses at like the most expensive hotel ever. And the whole time they'll be like, what, this whole thing? While both wearing custom-made designer outfits. Millie laughed, shaking her head. Some people have all the luck. If only they knew the pain Olivia had to go through to even get this second chance at luck. Meanwhile, as Millie and Wendy joked about their best friend's very clear crush on Chris, Jeremy remained silent, his brow furrowed as he stared at Chris Jones and Olivia Johnson's retreating figures. He wanted to say something to Olivia before she left, but the words eluded him. An indescribable anger burned within his chest, making him feel uncomfortable. Jeremy, what do you think Chris wants with Olivia? Frances asked curiously. Jeremy hadn't even realized Frances was walking beside him when Chris spirited Olivia away. He had been so singularly focused on Olivia. Hello, I said, what do you think Chris wants with... I heard you. Jeremy stopped him. Well, aren't you going to answer then? Frances had a feeling that something fishy was going on between Chris and Olivia, but he wasn't sure what, and he didn't want to ask her himself because he was still so embarrassed at the fuss his mom had made the previous week. I don't know, Jeremy replied, glancing unhappily at Frances. But I'm going to find out, he thought. Chris, meanwhile, guided Olivia outside to the courtyard in the middle of the school, maneuvering through the bustling crowd until they reached a secluded corner. Olivia, slightly puzzled, inquired, What's the matter? Chris, with a serious expression, responded, On December 10th, the Cooper family is hosting a birthday feast for their patriarch. Will you be attending? Of course. Olivia nodded affirmatively. The Johnson family has a very close relationship with the Coopers. My dad's wife, Rachel, is a Cooper herself. As Miss Johnson, it's only natural for me to attend such an event. She rolled her eyes, even if I really don't want to. In that case, it might be related to you, Chris muttered to himself while nodding, lost in thought. Olivia's lips curled down into a frown, curious. What might be related to me? What have you heard? Chris looked at her like he was unsure whether he should tell her. Like he was maybe scared to tell her what he knew. Tell me now, she demanded. Somebody bought some sort of drug from the owner of the Elbow Room nightclub in the meatpacking district, Chris replied. The nightclub was known as a hub for young people and those on the fringe of society, so it was no surprise that it was also the location where lots of illicit drug deals took place. Nor was it surprising that Chris himself heard of someone buying an illegal substance there. However, the buyer of the substance seemed to be someone so extraordinary it raised suspicion. Who was? Olivia's interest was piqued. The Elbow Room had recently opened in Manhattan and gained significant attention. It boasted a state-of-the-art sound system and hosted popular events, including intimate concerts with wildly popular pop stars and world-renowned DJs. It was well known that the nightclub had a powerful backer, and in both Olivia's current and past lives, the Elbow Room remained the most prominent nightclub in all of New York City. It was controlled by the boss of the city's biggest street gang, Anton Barnes. It was a well-known secret that Barnes had ties to the mob, too. It was someone who works for the Cooper family who met with Anton personally and bought something from him, Chris revealed. Not a street drug, but something else. I have people who work for my family, who work undercover keeping their eyes peeled around the city, and it was one of my men who saw the transaction take place. He wasn't sure what the substance was, but based on the way they were interacting, the men were trying to conduct their business under the radar. Olivia's eyebrows shot up. Someone from Rachel's family? You're sure? Chris nodded. Yep. I suspect it's intended for her father's birthday feast. The Cooper family planning to use illegal substances at their patriarch's birthday feast? Olivia was confused, but mulled over what she'd just been told. How intriguing. Chris furrowed his brows. Why was this girl so unfazed by the danger? Feeling frustrated, he lightly poked Olivia's head with his index finger. You find this intriguing and not absolutely wild? I'm telling you something serious. I am taking it seriously, Olivia said back. She rubbed the spot where Chris poked her head and rolled her eyes. They've already made the purchase. What can I do about it? Chris sighed, realizing that it was indeed too late to retrieve the substances once it had been bought. Hastily changing the subject, he stated, Well, I will also attend the feast. Why are you going? Olivia looked at him quizzically. I was invited as an escort from my fiancé. Chris sneered. Duh. My dad invited you? Olivia was taken aback. And you accepted? Rachel's family and your father invited me, but I declined. Chris responded, at first. But now that I've seen this, and I know you're going, and that you may be the one who's in danger, that substance is for, well, I don't want to take any chances now, do I? I know your stepmom tried to kill you once. I can't let that happen again. He looked at Olivia so seriously it made her uncomfortable. It felt good to have someone who'd cared so much about her, especially because she felt something for him too. But still, his gaze made her suddenly self-conscious. So you're going to accept the Cooper family's invitation now? Olivia changed the subject, so her cheeks would stop glowing. Or is there someone else inviting you? Olivia continued probing. No, nobody else invited me, Chris replied. You should have, but you didn't, he barbed, the smallest twitch of a smile on his face. So I'll call and let their event planner know I'm coming now. He cocked an eyebrow. Anything for my little princess, he teased. Olivia rolled her eyes. For someone whose company she reluctantly enjoyed, and gave her plenty of grief, Chris certainly knew how to push her buttons. In the end, though, she thanked Chris for looking out for her and holding her in such high regard. Meanwhile, at Michael's office in Midtown Manhattan, Michael was organizing some files on his desk when he asked, What time is it? It's almost 12 o'clock, Ansel Parr replied, checking his watch. Are you going to pick up Rachel and your daughter Monica now? Ansel knew of Michael's plan to take them to an amusement park this afternoon. They had ultimately decided to go later in the day so they could enjoy the holiday light show that evening that was held at the park every night in December. Monica looked forward to going every year. Yes, Michael replied, briefly pausing his tidying efforts. Call Rachel and ask her to pick up Monica from school. Then have them go to the park cafe. We'd like to have something to eat. I need to go somewhere else first.
Sleep, but doing so would be certain death.
I'm sure it's a romance, and he has to fight for her.
And clearly desperate, but since she wanted to play games, Garrett didn't.
Her skin made Ruby involuntarily.
Ansel Parr was momentarily surprised, but quickly nodded. All right. Where are you going, sir? Shall I drive you? I'm heading to the City Center Hospital, Michael replied, furrowing his brows. The thought of seeing Victoria again, even though she seemed wary of him, had been consuming him all day. But he felt obligated to visit her. He added, No need for flowers or fruit baskets. Understood, Ansel Parr acknowledged, moving to contact Rachel. Wait a moment, Michael interjected, remembering Victoria's forlorn expression as she lay in the hospital bed, her eyes closed. His heart softened at the recollection. Considering that Victoria had no family in the city apart from Olivia, and had chosen not to inform her of her hospitalization, he swiftly instructed Ansel Parr. Call downstairs and order a nutritious lunch to be packed. I'll take it with me to the hospital. Something light, easy to digest, and beneficial for wound healing. Oh, and no coriander? She doesn't like it. Okay, Ansel Parr responded before leaving the office. Michael sighed. He truly owed her. If he had treated her kindly from the start, perhaps things would be different. Once Ansel picked up the food, he drove Michael to the hospital. Michael exited his car and gestured for Ansel to wait for him in the parking lot. Then he went up to deliver the food to Victoria's room. Michael walked toward the elevator that led to the ward area on the 17th floor. As he turned, he caught a glimpse of his own reflection on the elevator wall and felt a mix of worry and anticipation in his eyes. What was he worried about? Was he really just concerned for Victoria's well-being? What was he anticipating? He couldn't be sure. Michael didn't know and dared not explore those feelings further. Just as he was contemplating them, however, the elevator doors opened. Michael reminded himself that he was there solely to deliver lunch. Once he had completed the task, he would promptly leave and not linger so he could meet his wife and daughter. Approaching the ward door, he overheard a conversation inside and slowed down, surprised. Was Victoria speaking to someone other than the nurse? It didn't seem likely. Michael knocked on the door 3 times and gently pushed it open. Inside, he saw Victoria lying on the hospital bed. Sitting on the chair Michael had occupied the previous day was a young man in a suit. He appeared to be in his late 20s, and he possessed a dignified appearance, displaying both the stability befitting a man who didn't easily succumb to his emotions and the youthful vitality one would expect from someone of his age. In short, he was a truly captivating individual, a man capable of effortlessly enchanting women with his confidence and stature. As the man caught sight of Michael, a flicker of hostility glinted in his eyes. Victoria's astonishment was palpable as soon as she saw Michael approaching the room too. She had assumed he wouldn't be visiting her again. "Why are you here?" she inquired. She was so shocked she forgot all about being polite. "Look at you." Michael approached the hospital bed and placed the lunch on the tray table beside Olivia's hospital bed. "You seem better than the last time I saw you. Have you eaten?" "Not yet," Victoria replied. "What a coincidence. I was just thinking of buying lunch for you, Vicky," the man who had been observing Michael said. He stood up and smiled at Victoria, and then looked at Michael. He extended his hand. "Hey, I'm Nate. You are?" "An old friend," Victoria said, her beautiful eyes sparkling. Upon hearing Victoria's words, Michael discerned that she still harbored resentment over the events of the previous night. Though slightly discontented, he extended his hand. "Hello, I'm Michael Johnson." He handed the young man his business card, and Victoria stifled an eye roll. Men were always engaging in one-upmanship. Upon hearing Michael disclose his family name, Nate exhibited surprise, but no fear. He cordially shook Michael's hand. "Hello, Mr. Johnson. I'm a manager in finance at Confluence Technology. I didn't realize that I was already well aware of who you are until I saw the name in writing." He jested. "Well, Confluence Technology enjoys a favorable reputation." Michael's lips curled upwards. "So I suppose I'm aware of you as well. Or at least of your employer." "Well, there is still a big gap between us and the Johnson family empire." Nate smiled. Though the two conversed politely, wearing smiles on their faces, there was an underlying tension in their exchange. "It's getting late, Nate, and I think Michael here has brought me lunch. So maybe we should plan to get lunch once I'm out of here instead?" Victoria interjected, sporting a smile. "I figure a fabulous cafe is probably a nicer venue for us to talk again and formally catch up anyways, don't you?" Nate nodded in agreement. "Thank you for coming all the way here to see me," Victoria cooed. "I loved getting to chat with you." She had initially been taken aback by Nate's sudden arrival about an hour ago. She wondered what had brought him here. "I did too," Nate smiled. "Till next time, I suppose. Reach out if you need anything." He stood up. "And feel free to call me anytime." "Oh, I wouldn't dare." Victoria laughed. I know you're very busy. Although Nate was young, he excelled at work and treated his subordinates well. Victoria held a positive impression of him and occasionally engaged in harmless banter back when they used to work together at her office before he moved on to Confluence Technology. Nate glanced at Michael and nodded. Goodbye, Mr. Johnson. Take care. Michael slightly turned his body. Nate departed, and out of Victoria's line of sight, the two men exchanged a brief but intense gaze. After Nate closed the door and left, Michael frowned and inquired, Who is he? My old supervisor. Victoria shrugged nonchalantly. Michael's eyes narrowed. Was that all Nate was to Victoria? Did she have a young romantic interest all this time? He tried to pretend such questions didn't nag or bother him as much as they did. Still, something about Nate gave him pause, made his hair on his neck go up. Even if Victoria was seeing the younger man, was that really the only reason he was there? Something about the guy seemed off, perhaps. The man seemed a bit squirrely. Or was that just Michael's own jealousy? Victoria looked at the bag that Michael had brought. What did you get? She asked him. Lunch, Michael responded. She felt a pang of hunger. Since Michael had already made the purchase, it would be wasteful not to eat, she figured. Don't be vague, Victoria retorted, rolling her eyes. This was typical of him. It took significant effort to extract a straightforward answer from him. Club sandwich, he finally offered. Michael proactively put the small dining tray on Victoria's bed. Then he reached out to assist her in sitting up. Ouch! Victoria inhaled, sharply in pain. Take it slow. Michael adjusted Victoria's pillow. Lean against it gently. Victoria gradually rested against the soft pillow. Does it still hurt? Is it better? Michael helped Victoria up and released her hand. Yes, I'm fine. Victoria took a few deep breaths, feeling the pain lessen. Let's eat. Michael opened the bag the food was in and placed everything on the small tray. It hurts to lift my food to my mouth, Victoria muttered. She loathed how helpless she felt. Just as she grappled with the predicament, Michael reached out and took the sandwich from her hand. I'll feed you. Ah, Victoria sarcastically remarked. Look at you, an old friend, feeding me. What can I say? Chivalry's not dead, he smirked. Open your mouth. Michael furrowed his brow and tried to guide the sandwich into Victoria's mouth. The whole thing was rather clunky and awkward. Victoria didn't argue further with Michael and took a bite. No point in being difficult with someone, iron-willed or not. After feeding her a few bites, Michael observed Victoria's face. Memories of the past flooded his mind. There was a time when Victoria had a high fever, and he took a day off work to take care of her. He personally made soup and fed her one spoonful at a time. She enjoyed the food he cooked and would eat until she was full, making him feel needed. Unconsciously, the corners of Michael's mouth curled upwards. He then thought about the man from earlier. That Nate seemed quite young. Yes, Victoria nodded. He's 29 years old. Don't be fooled by his youth. He's highly capable in handling matters. Michael snorted, his tone tinged with jealousy. You hold him in high regard. Of course. Victoria raised her head. He was her superior. As a subordinate, it was only natural to hold a high opinion of him. Michael remained silent, refraining from further remarks. After feeding Victoria the entire sandwich, he tidied up and returned to his seat, still without uttering a word. After being together for many years, Victoria could sense Michael's mood at a glance. Are you angry? This was typical of Michael, even from their dating days. When he was upset, he would fall silent. If questioned, he would deny it. No, Michael replied, maintaining his silence. Huh. Victoria smiled, shaking her head helplessly. Michael hadn't changed at all. In this moment, she felt a twinge of sentimentality. In the past, whenever she acted playfully and cajoled him, everything would be fine. But now she no longer held that position, nor was she obligated to do so. Eat the fries that came with this, they'll get cold soon. I have no appetite. Michael's anger burned within him. How could he possibly eat? If you have no appetite, why did you buy them? Victoria rolled her eyes at him. You know I don't like fries, just eat them already. I don't want to. Michael refused, albeit with a slightly weaker tone this time. Eat! Victoria stared at Michael. No. Michael clearly wasn't cooperative. Victoria's brow furrowed, and she was about to get angry when a sudden jolt of pain surged through her stomach. She inhaled sharply. Oh, God! Michael promptly leaned forward and held Victoria upright. What's wrong? Does the incision hurt? After school, Olivia took Wendy to Victoria's place. Unlocking her mom's door with her key, Olivia said, Come on in. My mom's probably at work still. Wendy entered the apartment behind Olivia and marveled at its well-decorated interior, bathed in bright natural light. A delicate and pleasant fragrance hung in the air, evoking a slight sense of unease within her. Could I truly live in such a place? She thought. I'd be honored if you'd stay here, Olivia said, reading her friend's thoughts. Come, I'll show you around each room. All right, Wendy nodded. This is the kitchen, come. One by one, Olivia gave a tour of each room. In Wendy's eyes, this modest residence felt like a mansion. For a long time, she had dreamt of living in a house like this with her own mother, an apartment that exuded simplicity and cleanliness, complete with an elevator and a pleasant view of a garden full of flowers and plants. This used to be my bedroom. In the future, you and your mom can stay here. It's a double bed, but there's a pull-out in the den too, which is right through here, Olivia pointed out. So it's like you guys will have your own wing. Oh my God, Liv, I don't even know how to begin to thank you. Wendy gazed at the sunlit room and expressed her gratitude. Liv, I appreciate this so much. Seriously, thank you, thank you. What are you thanking me for? Take a look and see if you like it. If you think it's suitable, call your mom and let her know. Olivia beamed, witnessing Wendy's joy. Okay. Wendy pulled out her phone and called her mom, but the excitement on her face waned after making the phone call to Desiree, and disappointment crept into her smile. She hung up and said, Let's go. Olivia read Wendy's thoughts before she gave voice to them. My mom said we can't accept your invitation to live here. In her mind, Wendy thought the words, My mom says we will be an imposition, and we will quickly outstay your welcome and ruin all of your friendships, both with you and Victoria. Although Olivia understood Desiree's reasoning, she couldn't agree with it. Wendy, I just want you to know that my mom and I really want to do this for you. So please, if you can talk to your mom, at least try. I know she may feel some pride, but I think it'll be worth it if you guys move here just for a little. I just want you to feel safe in your current living situation. Yeah. Wendy nodded reluctantly, casting one last glance around the house she had come to love. I'll try to convince her. Let's go grab a bite, Olivia suggested, attempting to change the subject to something lighter. There's that really good-looking pop-up we said we wanted to try around the corner, remember? Since Michael and the others were most likely heading to the amusement park, Olivia didn't feel like rushing home to eat. It made more sense to dine out. I'll treat you. No, I have to go to my tutor. Wendy's disappointment was evident in her tone, but she mustered a sincere smile and held Olivia's hand. But thank you for trying anyway, Liv. I really do appreciate it. Don't be silly, I love helping you. Olivia smiled and couldn't help but think back to her past life. At that time, she didn't know Wendy and her mother had endured such hardships. They must have suffered greatly. Let's go. Wendy shouldered her school bag. All right, Olivia agreed, feeling helpless. It wasn't normal for her to feel as helpless in this life as she did in her last life, and she hated the feeling. I have to do something to help her, Liv thought, eyeing her friend. After locking the door, they took the elevator downstairs. As they reached the ground floor, a middle-aged neighbor approached them. "Excuse me, you're Victoria's daughter from upstairs, right?" He had seen Victoria and Olivia together many times. "Yes," Olivia confirmed, meeting the man's gaze warily. "Is your mother home yet?" he asked. "I was worried about her." "Pardon me?" Olivia took a step back. "Oh, did you not know? She fainted while buying medicine at the pharmacy. I was there getting my asthma medication, and I saw an ambulance take her away. I came to see if she's... I'm sorry, I assumed you knew. I assumed you were here to look after her. Is she still not home?" Olivia's heart skipped a beat, and she felt a wave of shock course through her entire body. She felt paralyzed with fear. "What did you say?" The man repeated his words, but Olivia drowned him out and began going through her phone to look up the nearest hospitals. Before the man could finish, Olivia was rushing outside and hailing a taxi. Wendy followed after her, offering comfort by her side. "I'm sure it's okay. I'm sure she's fine," Wendy said, though Olivia could see from her thoughts that her friend was privately very worried as well. Olivia's hands clenched tightly into fists. She didn't say anything, but self-blame gnawed at her. When she retrieved her phone from downstairs and called her mom last night, she should have sensed that something was amiss when her mom didn't answer. Why did she drift off to sleep? A strong sense of guilt overwhelmed her, and her unease grew. Upon reaching the hospital, Olivia and Wendy hurried to the wing that housed Victoria. After finding out exactly where her mother was, Olivia rushed to her room and pushed the door open. She beheld Victoria peacefully sleeping under the covers. Michael sat on a nearby chair, his head down and eyes closed as if he too had dozed off. The two of them appeared serene and absolutely at ease. Olivia stood frozen for a moment. "What am I looking at?" she asked herself. "Isn't he supposed to be at the amusement park today?" The thought that he skipped out on Rachel and Monica tickled Liv, and she smiled mischievously. She approached Michael and gently nudged him awake. "Dad?" "Hmm?" Michael roused from his slumber. He looked up, feeling a slight soreness in the back of his neck. After stretching a few times, he asked, "Liv, what are you doing here?" "I heard from one of Mom's neighbors that Mom was in the hospital, so I rushed over," Olivia replied, her gaze shifting to the hospital bed where Victoria lay. She furrowed her brow and let out a soft sigh. Why are you here?" "Your mother didn't want to tell you," Michael spoke softly. "She didn't want you to worry too much. She's going to be released soon. It was just acute appendicitis. They called me once it happened, so I brought her some lunch this afternoon to check in on her." Olivia could see by reading his thoughts that Michael was intentionally not telling her he had been to visit twice already. She refrained from smiling upon hearing this. "Dad, what about Monica and Auntie?" Olivia said, wanting to see how he would react. Would he appear annoyed at the mention of their names, or would he be filled with guilty thoughts? Knowing this would help Olivia see how close she was to bringing her parents together again for good. "Weren't they planning to go to the amusement park with you?" Michael was taken aback by her question. "That's right," he thought. "I must have lost track of time once Victoria had that visitor here. And then when she had that sharp pain, so I stayed for a while just to make sure she was all right." He looked at the time. Shit. Monica and Rachel must have been waiting for him the entire afternoon. And he didn't have cell service in here, so he didn't even realize. He had told Ansel to wait in the car, too. And his obedient driver wouldn't have come to find him, even if Rachel was blowing up his phone. A pang of guilt surged within Michael. He glanced at Victoria, still asleep, and then addressed Olivia. "Stay here and keep your mother company. I've got to go." Olivia nodded. While it was disappointing to see Michael react so quickly with guilt, she was consoled by the fact that he had forgotten about Rachel and Monica altogether while spending time with Victoria. Good, Olivia thought, because there will be more of that in the future. Go enjoy the theme park. Olivia smiled kindly at her father, pleased with what she just learned. Okay, Michael replied, nodding at Wendy, who stood by Olivia's side before hurriedly departing. Then he looked at Victoria, still asleep. Let me know if she needs anything. Once Michael left, a bigger smile blossomed on Olivia's face. She was unable to contain her joy. What are you laughing at, Liv? Wendy asked, perplexed. Me? Olivia restrained her smile and spoke softly. I'm laughing because the tides of fate have finally started turning in my favor. As she looked at Victoria, peacefully sleeping with a pale face, Olivia's gaze darkened. She needed to be patient. If she could just wait a little longer, she would eventually be able to remove Rachel from the Johnson mansion and bring Victoria back with dignity. It seems like your mom's gonna make a full recovery, Wendy whispered softly. Olivia nodded in agreement. At that moment, a brilliant plan sprang forth from the depths of her heart, and her eyes gleamed with excitement. Wendy, has your mom been busy these past few days? Winter is the off-peak season at her job, so there hasn't been much work. Wendy shook her head. Otherwise, they wouldn't be so worried about money. That's great. Olivia smiled. Huh? Wendy didn't understand. Call your mom and tell her that my mother is in the hospital and urgently needs someone to take care of her. Ask if she has the time, Olivia instructed. That way, if she thinks she's doing this for my mom, she'll move in temporarily to take care of her, since my mom isn't really mobile right now. Good thinking, Wendy nodded and left the ward to make the call in the corridor. After a while, she returned and said, My mom said she'll come right away. Good. Olivia nodded, satisfied. She then asked, Is there anything valuable at your house? Wendy pondered for a moment. What do you mean? Olivia pursed her lips. Cancel your tutor for today. I think we should move some of you and your mom's stuff into my mom's apartment, since you guys will be staying there to help her. She lowered her voice and said, With my mother in this condition, Desiree will definitely stay at my mom's for a while to take care of her. And it's not like you could stay at your place alone while she does. So you should move some of your things to my mother's place. I'll give you a spare key. Once Wendy moved in, everything would fall into place. Liv? A voice whispered from the hospital bed, and Victoria woke up. Why are you here? I heard that you were ill and needed surgery. Olivia approached and sat on the chair beside the bed. Mom, how are you feeling now? Pretty good, Victoria replied with a faint smile. She looked around as if searching for something. Mom, Olivia pulled the blanket over Victoria and said, Dad was here, but he left. Victoria looked momentarily disappointed, but then she smiled and looked at Wendy. Wendy, you're here too. Yes, Wendy smiled. Victoria, Michael is so handsome. Victoria's smile froze for a moment. She thought to herself, These two kids are doing this on purpose. Why do they keep mentioning Michael? They want me to think about him. Seeing Victoria's embarrassment, Olivia refrained from mentioning her dad further and simply smiled. She said, Mom, you haven't had dinner yet, right? No, not yet, Victoria replied, her smile fading slightly. Then let me order something. Olivia glanced at her phone to check out some nearby restaurants. What would you like to eat? Something light, Victoria replied, still smiling. Okay. Olivia nodded and took out her phone to place an order. She requested a bowl of chicken noodle soup for Victoria and some crackers from a deli nearby. Just as the food arrived, Desiree rushed in. Victoria, how are you feeling? She asked, filled with concern. Not too bad. Appendicitis surgery isn't a major operation. Victoria reassured her with a smile. It could have been way worse. Desiree, if it's not too much to ask, would you be able to take care of my mom these next few days once she's discharged from the hospital? Olivia asked. No problem. Desiree nodded. After so many years of friendship, it was only natural for her to fulfill this duty. No, really, it's not necessary. Victoria hastily declined, not wanting to trouble anyone. Then, how about I call my dad over to help you? Olivia offered with a mischievous smile. No, Victoria frowned, a touch of displeasure evident in her voice. Mom, Olivia whispered, shaking her head as she tried to level with her mother. You're not going to be able to walk for a few days, so if you feel embarrassed to let Aunt Desiree stay and take care of you, I should take some time off school and come to the hospital and then to your place to look after you. Victoria sighed. She knew her daughter was right. Her gaze shifted to Desiree. I really don't want to trouble you. Are you kidding? I'm not busy with work right now, and I know you'd do the same for me. Desiree smiled. And you've got a sweet daughter. She just wants you to be well taken care of. Olivia placed the soup in front of her mother. I'll feed you while I'm here, and when I'm not, I'll rely on Desiree to help us. Okay, Desiree nodded. Olivia scooped up a spoonful of soup and gently blew on it before feeding it to Victoria. Mom, be careful, it's hot. Victoria nodded, tears welling up in her eyes as she recalled the times when she used to feed Olivia when she was young. As she ate the soup, she felt the warmth not only filling her stomach, but also her heart. Did Dad feed you like this earlier? Olivia asked curiously. Pfft. Victoria couldn't help but spit out a mouthful of hot soup, causing her to feel a twinge of pain. The tender warmth from before disappeared, replaced by embarrassment. What? Of course not, Victoria replied anxiously, denying the suggestion. Oh. Olivia sighed and took out a tissue to wipe away the spilled soup. Shaking her head, she thought, if you're not willing to admit it, then forget it. She could see from reading Victoria's thoughts that Michael had fed her earlier, and Victoria had liked it in spite of herself. But now her embarrassment grew, her heart sinking deeper. This child, Victoria thought. Sometimes it's bad that she has to be so smart. It's like she can tell what I'm thinking. It's hard to keep even the slightest secret hidden around Liv, leaving me with little privacy. Victoria sighed, exasperated. Reading her mom's thoughts, Olivia decided not to press her mom any further, and instead left her to spend time with Desiree, who was more than willing to look after her. After leaving the hospital, Olivia went with Wendy back to her apartment. She waited as Wendy packed together some belongings. Once Wendy was finished, Olivia glanced at the few bags Wendy had arranged and inquired, Is this everything? Yes, Wendy replied. Me and my mother don't have much since most of her prized belongings were already stolen. I just grabbed some clothes, toiletries, and files from what remained. Let's take everything with us, Olivia suggested, surveying the cold room. It was already December, and she couldn't bear the thought of staying there any longer. We'll have to move the bigger stuff eventually, once your mom is cool with staying with my mom more long-term. Okay, Wendy agreed. She began to tidy up before they headed out, when suddenly she got to a file cabinet behind the living room couch and stopped. What is it? Olivia asked. Somebody's been in here again. My mom's safe and her little space heater and bank files are all gone. Are you serious? Olivia was taken aback. A space heater didn't even cost that much. Why would someone steal it? She couldn't tolerate anyone taking advantage of others. Call the police, Olivia suggested, her brow furrowing. It was heartless of the thief. If they didn't report it, they had no hope of getting any of their stuff back. Or finish packing up and cleaning and I'll make the call, Olivia said, taking out her phone and dialing the number. Okay, Wendy nodded and continued cleaning up to see what else had been taken. After calling the police, Olivia furrowed her brow but said nothing more. The small and narrow apartment fell into silence, with only the sound of Wendy organizing her belongings filling the air. Suddenly, with a bang, the weak door was forcefully pushed open. Desiree, when are you going to pay the rent? If you can't pay, then get out. Entering the house was a middle-aged woman in her 40s. She had a stout figure and wore a brand-new down jacket. Her short curly hair and garish makeup did not suit her unnatural lips and heavily Botox face. Lydia, my mother isn't here. Wendy trembled in fear at the woman's shout. Not here? Lydia's voice turned shrill. She must have deliberately escaped then to avoid paying me, right? That wretched woman thinks she can hide forever. Quickly tell your mother that if she doesn't return today, I won't leave. I'll wait for her. With that, Lydia swaggered into the house. So, Olivia realized, this must be Wendy's wretched landlady who's threatening to evict them. Wendy bit her lower lip, her eyes filled with anger. Lydia always spewed rude words, and Desiree endured it. After all, they were just tenants, and the rent had increased in other places. This place was still affordable, so she had learned to tolerate the abuse. But Olivia didn't like seeing this. I don't come back in this life just to watch terrible people hurt good ones and do nothing, she thought. You shouldn't wait any longer, Olivia told Lydia coldly. We're moving out now. Moving out? Lydia halted and turned to face Olivia. And who are you? Why should I tell you who I am? Olivia looked Lydia up and down. You son of a bitch, don't you talk back to me. Lydia sneered. Where'd this little brat come from? Go out and ask around who I am, little girl. I own half the buildings in this neighborhood. Lydia had never been so disrespected before, especially by a young kid. She grew furious, putting her hands on her waist. How can I not know who you are, Lydia? Olivia sneered. Having lived in the neighborhood before, Olivia remembered most of the slumlords who preyed upon the poorer people around here, much like Lydia did. But instead of shouting at me, perhaps you should be more concerned about yourself. What did you say? Lydia was stunned. Why should I be concerned? Your tenants' belongings have been stolen from your building twice now. You should take responsibility for owning such an unsafe property. I've just called the police so they can help us sort everything out. Clearly you don't mind, do you? Having the authorities take a look around the place and making sure everything's up to code and safe for my friend here? Lydia was taken aback by Olivia's words. She gritted her teeth and quickly changed her tone. You're young and ignorant. If you dare call the police to this neighborhood, they'll only go through the motions of catching the thief. All you really do is alert the neighbors to the fact that Desiree and Wendy are snitches who can't handle things on their own. Lydia curled her lips. They're a widow and an orphan who live alone, aren't they? No husband or father in sight. If they bring attention to themselves, anyone with bad intentions could take notice, and then who will stop them from barging in and kidnapping little Wendy and Desiree in the night? Wendy shivered. When they were robbed the first time, she had advised Desiree to involve the police, but Desiree stopped her. She didn't understand back then, but now, hearing Lydia's words, she broke out in a cold sweat and knew why. Now you're afraid, aren't you? Lydia smirked, taking satisfaction in the fear displayed by these two young girls. Whether or not a criminal chooses to return here after we leave is none of our concern. We're moving Wendy and her mom out. Olivia shrugged. Right, Wendy? Yes, that's right. Wendy nodded vigorously. They were going to move out, and everything would be fine, she assured herself. Move out? Where can you move to? Do you think you can leave this neighborhood with your meager savings? Even if you manage to move away from this street, unless you leave the city entirely, forget about it, Lydia taunted. Nobody speaks to me or my friends like this, like we're worth nothing and not even human. Olivia felt a buzzing within her. She loathed the way this woman even looked at her. Liv? Wendy withdrew slightly, feeling a hint of fear. But Olivia was busy contemplating Lydia's odd behavior. Why did she keep discouraging them from involving the police? What was her motive? At that moment, a faint voice echoed in Olivia's ears as she read Lydia's mind. After carefully considering Lydia's thoughts, Olivia's lips curled into a smile. Why don't you let a criminal try to return here? Olivia said coldly. And you can inform them that Wendy and her daughter have been taken in by me, Olivia Johnson. My father is Michael Johnson, of Johnson Industries. I'm sure you've heard of him. Lydia's face went white. Lydia stood there, stunned by Olivia's unexpected revelation. Shit, she thought. Just steps from her, Olivia's smile widened as she read the landlady's mind. Olivia approached Lydia. Her voice hushed so only Lydia could hear her. "Lydia?" Olivia said calmly as she walked closer. "If I were in your shoes, I would find a way to return the stolen items before the police arrive." When Lydia's eyes flickered, Olivia nodded. "That's right. I know you stole the items yourself." Olivia had jumped into Lydia's mind and seen everything, as Lydia remembered cranking up the heat, and then noticing which of her tenants opened up their windows to get a bit of fresh air, and then waiting until they left for the Thanksgiving holiday, before she used her master key to enter their apartments while they were gone. She knew her various tenants would only blame themselves for leaving their windows open, and none of them would actually suspect it was her, their landlady, who had gone through all their belongings and stolen their most prized possessions. But Lydia had gotten greedy. She liked the feeling of taking things from people who were too weak and too poor to try and alert the authorities, people who had nowhere else to go if they called for help and were evicted. So she broke back into Desiree's and Wendy's apartment while they were out and stole a second round of items: banking information, a space heater, some kitchen appliances. She didn't even need them, really. She just liked taking things. It was fun. Especially because Desiree seemed so sad and down on her luck. Sometimes it was fun to kick puppies, Lydia thought, just to watch how helpless they were. It made her feel powerful. Olivia watched Lydia think this and grimaced. "Oh, you really shouldn't have thought that in front of me," Olivia thought. "You showed your true colors in front of the wrong girl. Or maybe this is fate. Maybe you were meant to meet me. And this is a lesson you need to be taught." Olivia grinned. "If you don't return the items you stole from Wendy and her mother, I will ensure that you end up in prison." Olivia sneered. Her narrowed eyes and icy gaze conveyed her determination. I don't know what you're talking about," Lydia stammered, swallowing nervously and taking a few steps back. "You don't? Well, perhaps it's for the best," Olivia responded, taking a step back herself and offering a smile. "You should stay right here then. When the police arrive, you might even have the opportunity to be a witness to the crime. Who knows? Maybe we can ask them to search the whole building, in case the thief left something behind in a stairwell, or perhaps some DNA evidence. Maybe we get lucky and find some physical evidence." Lydia gritted her teeth and clenched her fist, searching for a response. She turned to Wendy, hoping to find support. "Wendy, when you and your mother had nowhere else to go, it was my husband and I who took you in, right? After all these years, have I increased the rent by even a single cent, despite the rising prices of other homes in the area?" Olivia chuckled. Playing the emotional card, are we? Weren't you feeling quite powerful just a few minutes ago? What changes? "I think it's an idiotic thing to get police involved," Lydia hissed, her teeth grinding together. "They never do anything, and they'll only cause a ruckus and make people in the building feel unsafe." "Well, maybe people in your building should feel unsafe," Olivia smirked, "considering someone's robbing them from right under their noses." "What do you know?" Lydia retorted, eyes narrowing at Olivia. "What are you insinuating? That I need to put stronger locks on the door downstairs?" She refrained from uttering any more harsh words to Olivia because of who her father was, instead fixing her gaze on Wendy's face, trying to evoke sympathy. Despite the prolonged silence, she didn't shed a single tear. "Wendy, I may have a sharp tongue, but I've treated both you and your mother well. I think it's a bad idea to call the police." Wendy was taken aback, unable to form an immediate response. She was caught off guard by Lydia's plea. "Actually, I called the police before you arrived," Olivia interjected, raising her hand to inspect her nails, her expression indifferent. "They should be here soon, right? You should go and prepare for their arrival." "You!" Lydia's expression shifted rapidly to one of anger and disbelief, and also a little bit of fear. "You already called them?" "Yep," Olivia confirmed with a smile. "Every second you waste now will be time you'll treasure in the future." "Why would you?" Lydia's face twisted with frustration, and she swiftly turned and rushed out of the room. Olivia knew from reading her thoughts that Lydia was running towards her own apartment in order to hide all the jewelry and personal effects she'd stolen from her tenants. Bye-bye, Olivia bid farewell, waving her hand with a smile. The poor wooden door slammed shut once again, allowing the cold wind to permeate the room, causing Olivia and Wendy to shiver. Wow, Olivia scoffed, her lips curling in disdain. That Lydia is quite the cunning old fox, isn't it? Liv, was it wrong for us to call the police? Wendy asked anxiously, her voice filled with panic. This doesn't seem right. What's not right about it? Olivia coldly raised her gaze. Lydia, as the landlord, had come to steal her tenants. It was an act of moral decay. She had taken away the inexpensive space heater. What a complete lack of conscience. Don't let her guilt you into not calling for help, Olivia told her friend. She's trying to convince you that nobody cares about you and your mom's losses. That's not true. I do, and the police will care too. This woman's just taking advantage of you, Wendy. Don't you see that? Olivia could see that her friend was torn. Of course you are, she thought. You are unable to see into people's minds like I can, so you don't know with certainty that your own landlady stole from you. Don't worry, Liv mused. As soon as the police come, they'll expose her. And then you'll see I was right to call them. This woman needs to be punished. As soon as she thought this, Olivia realized something. I can't give that bitch time to get rid of the evidence, she thought. I have to make sure she's caught red-handed. Wait here, Olivia told Wendy. Where are you going? Wendy asked, confused. Which unit is Lydia's apartment? She lives in the penthouse. The whole top floor and roof belong to her. It's the only nice apartment in the whole neighborhood. Of course, Liv scoffed. Finish cleaning and packing up anything else you need, and make sure to make note of every single thing that was stolen. I'll be back once the cops arrive. Where are you going? Wendy asked. To meet the cops downstairs, Liv lied. Instead, she took the emergency staircase up to the penthouse and knocked on the door. Anger boiled up in her with each step she took, so that by the time she arrived at the door, Olivia's whole body was buzzing with an anticipatory tingling rage. As soon as Lydia answered, Olivia simply nodded, and Lydia blew backwards into the table behind her. As she shook her head and tried to stand up, getting her bearings, Olivia nodded again, and the door blew closed behind her and locked itself. She could see that she had interrupted Lydia as she was trying to hide a bunch of stolen valuables on the top shelf of her floor-to-ceiling bookshelf on the left side of the room. There appeared to be a secret little compartment behind several hollowed-out books that proved to be an excellent hiding space for stolen goods. What the? Lydia muttered, but it was too late. She was stopped mid-sentence when Olivia flickered her left wrist and sent Lydia flying into the air before crashing into the large bookshelf. There was one of those little ladders on wheels that allowed one to reach the top of the shelf and move about with ease. So Olivia concentrated all her power on the ladder, wrenching it from the wall and then lifting it up before launching it onto Lydia's body. Ah! Lydia screamed, but Olivia was ruthless. She bashed the ladder onto the wretched landlady's body over and over until she saw blood, and the woman stopped fighting back or making a sound. Lydia's body seemed wilted. Her face was pale, and she did not struggle anymore. Not long after, Olivia heard a buzzing on the apartment's intercom out front. Olivia quickly opened the door to Lydia's apartment, with her mind so fingerprints weren't anywhere on the knob. She backed out into the hallway and heard boots on the ground coming up the stairs. Within minutes, 2 policemen arrived on Lydia's floor. Are you Lydia Persimmons? One of them asked. No, but I think she's hurt, Olivia said, to investigate the situation. My friend and I were just talking to her about moving out, and my friend had some stuff stolen from her apartment, and we had called you guys to come to take a police report. I came up here because I heard a big thud when I was in the hallway staircase on my way down to wait for you guys, and she shuddered. It's really bad. Olivia pretended to cry as she stepped to the side so the officers could see inside Lydia's apartment. As soon as they did, they called for emergency services. We have a possible fall, one officer informed the station over his radio. I think she was trying to put something on the top shelf. Olivia pointed. One of the officers flashed his light up at the top shelf and saw something glistening. Confused, he took the ladder and investigated. Reaching into the hidden compartment in the top shelf, he pulled down a bunch of jewelry and items like watches and wallets and credit cards that clearly belonged to other people. These names, some of these matched the names of tenants on some of the mailboxes and intercoms we passed. Olivia looked down. Oh gosh, she said. You don't think... Was she the one who stole from my friend? We don't have a pulse, the other officer who was checking Lydia's vitals said. Looks like maybe she was trying to hide everything, the other officer said. Before we got here, maybe she was in such a rush, she lost her footing and fell. Oh my God. Olivia pretended to look shocked. Earl, take the girl and bring her downstairs to get her statement with her friend, all right? The one cop said to his friend. She shouldn't have to see this. It's traumatic. Copy, the other cop said. Poor girl. Can't imagine how hard this must be for her. Olivia stifled a smile. Actually, you'd be surprised how easy it was, she thought. Olivia and Wendy finally left Wendy's after providing their statements for investigators around 8:30 in the evening. The cops determined that Lydia had indeed stolen from not only Wendy and Desiree, but a slew of other people, and had fallen while trying to cover her tracks. Wendy smiled when police told her they would be able to return most of her mother's jewelry to Desiree, and about half of the cash that Lydia had taken and not spent yet. A sense of relief washed over Olivia too, as she took a deep breath, realizing that the matter appeared to be nearing its resolution. She looked forward to the swift return of Desiree's money and jewelry. Olivia placed a comforting hand on Wendy's shoulder, her gaze penetrating and imparting a valuable lesson. Wendy, it's important to sever ties with those who deny your right to a safe and fulfilling life, and never give them the opportunity to cause further harm, okay? Never look back or wonder about Lydia again, okay? She got what she deserved. After a moment of contemplation, Wendy nodded in understanding, acknowledging her friend's advice. Let's get to my mom's place quickly, Olivia urged, aware of the late hour. It's getting late and I need to go home. Wendy felt a slight embarrassment at inconveniencing Olivia further, considering their unfinished homework. Olivia rolled her eyes at Wendy's thoughts, but said nothing. Instead, she had her driver take Wendy to Victoria's, let her in with the spare key, and then continued on to her dad's mansion. Originally, she planned to spend the night with Wendy at Victoria's, but then she made an excuse about having to fetch a textbook she left at her dad's, because she anticipated an intriguing spectacle upon her return home, considering Michael's recent abandonment of Rachel and Monica earlier today. It was nearly 11 o'clock when Olivia entered the mansion alone. The house remained illuminated, and as she entered the living room, she found Michael and Rachel sitting on the sofa, tension in the atmosphere. Dad, I'm back, Olivia announced casually, a subtle smile on her lips. Why are you home so late? Michael inquired. I was helping Wendy with her move, Olivia replied, tone light. Haven't the two of you gone to bed yet? We'll be sleeping soon, Michael replied, rubbing his forehead. Go upstairs and rest. All right, Olivia nodded. With her school bag in hand, Olivia walked past the sofa, discreetly curling her lips into a mischievous smile that Rachel couldn't see. Rachel clenched her fists, glaring at Olivia with intensity. Oh, by the way, Olivia suddenly paused, turning back. Auntie Rachel, did you have a wonderful time today? I'm sure Monica was thrilled she got to go to the amusement park, right? The faces of Michael and Rachel froze instantly. Well, it was fine, Rachel replied, her words practically forced through her clenched teeth. Ah, that's great, Olivia continued, walking briskly toward the stairs. It must have been fantastic. I'm envious, really. Rachel's expression grew increasingly grim. Olivia seemed to be speaking to herself. It had felt as if she was intentionally saying those words for Rachel to hear. The effect was undeniably infuriating. Suppressing her anger, Rachel consoled herself. assuring that everything would be fine. This coming Saturday, she would make Olivia disappear from their world completely. Michael, observing Rachel's distress, rose from the sofa. "Relax, Rachel," he advised. "You need to rest." "Michael, you went too far this time." Rachel shook her head. "Monica was genuinely looking forward to today, and then you stood us up for lunch and were unreachable. By the time you met us, she was inconsolable. How would you feel if that happened to you?" "I know," Michael sighed. Having experienced disappointment and shattered expectations countless times in his own life, he understood the pain. But he still felt terrible that he had ruined their day at the amusement park. By the time he got to them, they would have arrived too late to see the light show that Monica had been looking forward to most. "This Sunday, I'll take Monica and you to the amusement park to make it up to you." "Fine," Rachel nodded. She stood up and sat next to Michael, resting her head on his shoulder. "Was your friend in the hospital really that important?" Rachel asked. "You stood up your daughter for him." Michael was taken aback, tensing up. He had lied and told his wife a colleague had been rushed to the hospital at work, and he had to see to it that he was all right. "That won't happen again," he vowed. Having made a mistake once, he wouldn't repeat it. "Good. As for how you can make it up to me..." Rachel raised her index finger, pointing it at Michael's lips. "Tonight, I was thinking we could..." Rachel's words trailed off as her red lips slightly parted, her eyes filled with desire. "I'm feeling a bit tired tonight, maybe another time," Michael replied uninterestedly, patting Rachel's arm. "I still have work to do. You don't need to wait for me. I'll sleep while I study." With that, Michael stood up and walked towards the stairs. Rachel clenched her fist tightly, glaring at him with anger, recalling Monica's transformation earlier from excited anticipation to despair, followed by her locking herself in her room and weeping uncontrollably. Rachel felt her heart ache with pain. Elsewhere, at the same time in the Cooper family mansion, a woman with long hair sat barefoot on a sheepskin carpet, engrossed in reading a French novel. The room was dimly lit, with a warm glow emanating from a crackling fireplace. The soft melody of a violin sonata by Strauss played on a phonograph in the corner, creating a pleasant ambiance. If not for the discontented couple on the sofa, the scene would have been perfect. "My big brother has gone too far. How can he be so stubborn?" The man, Beatrix's father, snorted. "How is he going to be the one to inherit the Cooper family empire by becoming CEO after my father retires?" "You're right. He's just 10 minutes older than you. Why can't your father see your hard work?" His wife, Beatrix's mother, responded, her face filled with anger. "Our father has grown old and confused. My brother has so many flaws and done so much bad stuff in his life, yet Dad remains blind to them. Instead, he keeps pestering me all day," Beatrix's father exclaimed, striking the back of the sofa. "Dad!" Beatrix shouted, closing her book. Her face remained composed, but a glimmer of hatred flickered in her eyes. "If you and Mom came here just to talk crap about our own family, you can leave now. I still have reading to do." "Beatrix, why won't you seek justice for your father?" her mother exclaimed, her brow furrowed in anguish. Her father's contributions to the family company had been immense, yet he had not received fair treatment. Her mom's gaze was fixed on Beatrix as she spoke. "Don't you feel angry about this? Are you so absorbed in your book that you don't care?" Beatrix sneered. "What else do you expect me to do? I'm a teenager." "You should help us find a solution," her mom sighed. "Don't think that your father and I are fighting only for ourselves. We're doing this for you and your sister's futures, too." "I have my own plans for grandfather's birthday feast, don't worry," Beatrix said impatiently, turning her head back to her book. The couple exchanged glances, a hint of joy passing between them. Her father asked, "What are you planning to do?" Beatrix remained silent for a while, her eyes fixed on the book in her hand. Not receiving a response from Beatrix, her parents' expressions turned sour. However, her mom persisted. You aren't planning on doing anything that will cause trouble for us, right? Beatrix's lips curled in disdain, her eyes filled with contempt for her own family. Mom, relax, your reputation will be fine, I promise. With that assurance, her parents left the room, closing the door behind them. Beatrix lifted her head, a look of disgust on her face. She had been interrupted so much she lost interest in her book and threw it into the fireplace. The pages caught fire, turning into ashes. Watching them burn, Beatrix's mood suddenly improved. She sat up, stretching her long limbs. Her phone started ringing from across the room. Beatrix lazily walked over to answer it. Hello? Beatrix, are you still awake? For now, Beatrix replied, sitting down and twirling the phone cord with her fingers. She knew it was her Aunt Rachel calling because of Olivia. Aunt, what's the matter? Nothing, I just wanted to discuss your plan. Rachel's voice had an edge to it. Well, we have two options. You can decide which you prefer. Beatrix interrupted Rachel. She wasn't ready to let Olivia die so easily. It wasn't easy for her to find a toy that suited her taste or things that brought her joy in this world. A slow torture of Olivia Johnson would be much more preferable. What are the options? Rachel furrowed her brow. One is to let her die. It's quite simple, poison. We can accomplish it from the inside without needing to expose ourselves. Beatrix paused, glancing at her Louis Vuitton handbag on the table. The other option is to make her wish she were dead. Rachel was perplexed but intrigued. Go on. You're more familiar with the social hierarchy of all you adults than I am, but I imagine if Olivia offends the wrong family or someone she can't afford to offend, she'll face isolation, followed by abuse, criticism, contempt, and everyone turning their backs on her. Rachel's smile grew wider, her eyes gleaming with malice. And perhaps that is worth more than murder. Perhaps it will even force her to hurt herself. I am confident that I can make this happen. How confident are you? Rachel felt moved but still had some concerns. 10 out of 10. Beatrix raised the corner of her mouth. It was a perfect plan, killing two birds with one stone. She had contemplated it for a long time. Okay, Rachel nodded. I believe in you. And, before Rachel hung up, her expression turned serious as she reminded, you won't cause any trouble for me or the rest of the family, right? You won't draw any attention back to us? Beatrix curled her lips in disdain. The Cooper family members were all cut from the same cloth, always looking out for themselves first. Aunt Rachel, rest assured, I know what I'm doing. All right. Good night. Rachel hung up the phone. As Beatrix listened to the dead air on the other side of the line, she softly muttered, besides, if anything goes wrong, I'll just drag the entire Cooper family down to hell with me. A sinister smile played on her lips as she placed the phone back on its cradle. She leaned back on the plush sofa, stretching her hands over her abdomen. The light shone on her face, her smile bright, yet chillingly sinister. Olivia, Beatrix murmured with a smile. Oh, the things I'm about to do to you. I can't wait. She had great expectations for Olivia. Back at the Johnson family mansion, a shiver ran through Olivia's body, and she let out a soft gasp. It's so cold. Coming out of a warm bath during winter was always a challenge, especially when her room was perpetually dark. Even with the air conditioner set to a high temperature, the chill seeped in once she stepped out of the bathroom. Olivia used the hairdryer to dry her hair before settling back onto her bed. Her dog jumped onto Olivia's lap and rubbed its head against her chest. Good girl, Olivia said, petting her. But even if you act cute at this hour, I can't take you out to play. I'll take you out for some fun this weekend, okay? Her dog happily laid its head on her as she pulled the covers over both of them, Polly emitting a soft sound, as if bidding Olivia good night. Olivia smiled as she turned off the light. She eagerly anticipated the Cooper family's birthday feast on Saturday. In her previous life, she had been embarrassed during the feast after witnessing something she shouldn't have. It led to chaos within the Cooper family, and she became completely isolated from a lot of people in Manhattan society. But what about this life? She wondered. What would Rachel do? What would Beatrix do? What would Melanie do? She truly wanted to find out, once again to see what they were going to come up with this time around. What she said to Wendy earlier about never giving people the opportunity to cause further harm was true, and those were words Olivia herself now lived by. I won't let those girls get away with anything, she thought, and soon I won't even let them live. But Olivia's wings were not yet fully grown, so she still had a lot to learn before she could get them all alone and hurt each one and seek revenge without putting undue suspicion on herself. So until then, she would preserve her own life, live well, and witness the demise of these people, one by one. They will die before my very eyes, she vowed, just like Lydia, and no one would be spared. Saturday marked the birthday of Kenneth Cooper, the esteemed patriarch of the Cooper family, a prominent figure in Manhattan. He also happened to be Rachel's father. The news of his birthday celebration created a buzz, attracting journalists from various tabloid magazines who eagerly sought exclusive details of the affair. The Cooper family had stoked interest by hinting at the presence of a mysterious guest, though they kept the reporters at bay to keep anyone from getting a juicy scoop of gossip about Manhattan's social elite. Despite being one of the most prominent families in New York City, the Cooper family was still considered nouveau rich compared to other families, and therefore relied heavily on their association with the Johnson family. Consequently, the Cooper family wanted to host a party that went off without any mishaps or gossip ending up in any tabloids. Kenneth's birthday feast commenced at 11:30, with guests arriving punctually from 10 o'clock onwards. The parking lot outside the Cooper residence quickly became filled with a multitude of luxurious vehicles, catching the attention of reporters who secretly captured the scene. Several reporters attempted to infiltrate the Cooper residence, clandestinely to capture the party inside as well. But security measures adopted by the Cooper family proved unusually stringent, and such attempts were quickly thwarted. It was nearly 11 o'clock when Michael's family arrived, somewhat delayed. Quick-witted paparazzi who were keeping an eye out for celebrities rushed forward to capture photographs. Monica, seated inside the car, arrogantly raised her chin, displaying a sense of familiarity with such situations. Olivia, on the other hand, furrowed her brows, feeling repulsed. The constant flashing of cameras outside the window irritated her. They reminded her of an embarrassing incident from her past. Olivia couldn't help but feel flustered. The Cooper family deployed personnel who waved the Johnsons' car inside the Cooper residence exclusive gated parking lot. This further thwarted the paparazzi's attempts to catch a decent photo, leaving them frustrated and grumbling. Olivia turned to observe the unsuccessful paparazzi, her expression cold. Monica noticed Olivia's gaze and grew angry. "Why are you looking at them?" she snapped. "Disappointed that the reporters didn't pay attention to you?" Olivia turned away, giving Monica a cold glance. Then, looking up and noticing Michael observing her through the rearview mirror, Olivia remarked, "They seem quite pitiful." Monica rolled her eyes, exclaiming, "Yeah, right. You're probably just sad they don't want your picture." Monica thought of the information Rachel had revealed to her earlier, that Beatrix was going to destroy Olivia today. Such information brought a smirk to Monica's lips. Today, she intended to make Olivia's life a living hell. And tomorrow, Michael would take her to the amusement park. It would feel like a little cherry on top, a celebration after such a successful day. Monica, unaware, sat lost in her own thoughts still. Monica still harbored a deep sense of resentment over Michael's failure to meet her the last time. He went to buy Olivia a school bag, attended Olivia's parent-teacher conference, and even personally received her. But what about her, the esteemed Monica Johnson? She and Rachel stood waiting for her father for the entire afternoon the other day, while Michael was caught up with some colleagues at the hospital, standing them up. She witnessed other children and their parents joyfully hanging out. It felt like a painful slap in the face. What she yearned for was Michael's attention. She wanted to be valued by Michael. She, Monica, was Michael and Rachel's daughter. Michael's biased behavior deeply wounded Monica's self-esteem. She despised it and felt wronged. Ever since Olivia, an outsider who had nothing to do with her, entered her world, she felt that everything that rightfully belonged to her was under threat of being destroyed and taken away. Her entire world was on the verge of collapse. The more she hated, the more fear consumed her. But all of this is just temporary, she reassured herself. Soon, it'll become a thing of the past. After today, I will once again be acknowledged as the eldest Miss Johnson, and no one will look up to Olivia or even remember her. These delightful thoughts lingered in Monica's mind, brightening her mood. A smile gradually brightened her face. Hearing Monica's thoughts, Olivia watched her carefully. "Don't you get too excited," Olivia thought, "because I have a plan of my own, and you won't be celebrating anything." Olivia smiled. As soon as Monica, Olivia, Michael, and Rachel stepped foot into Kenneth Cooper's giant mansion, people from all walks of life flocked around them. Monica watched as many of them brushed past her and went straight to Olivia, their flattering demeanor and words of praise sudden yet expected. Monica's face darkened as she clenched her fist tightly. Her teeth gritted, and her eyes turned sharp as knives. "I wish I could tear into Olivia's tender flesh," Monica thought, blinding her radiant eyes and wiping the smile off her face. Sensing Monica's anger, Rachel gently placed her hand on her shoulder. With a smile on her face, she whispered in a voice only they could hear, "Endure it for a little while longer. Her arrogance is becoming apparent. She'll get what's coming to her." "Fine," Monica replied, her tightly clenched fists relaxing. Her eyes, still brimming with hatred, remained fixed on Olivia. "Let's go. Mommy will take you to celebrate Grandfather's birthday," Rachel suggested. Standing here would only add fuel to the fire. Michael had already been called away by one of Rachel's brothers as soon as he arrived, presumably to discuss some business matters. "Okay," Monica nodded, glaring at Olivia before leaving the living room with Rachel. They ascended the stairs and the maids respectfully bowed in greeting. As for Olivia, surrounded by the crowd, she had no time to engage with Monica. Using her abilities, she read the minds of the people greeting her and realized why these individuals seemed so determined and familiar with her. It wasn't because she was Olivia. It wasn't because she was a member of the Johnson family even, or connected to the Coopers by marriage. It was because she was engaged to Chris Jones of the Jones family. Wow, my decision to strike a deal with Chris was wise apparently, she thought. At that moment, she felt someone reach for her from behind, pulling her into a warm embrace. Olivia turned and found Chris gazing at the crowd with a vigilant expression. A faint smile graced his lips. "Apologies, everyone. I'd like to spend some time alone with my fiancé if you don't mind." "Ah, of course, Chris, please feel free," responded the onlookers, tactfully stepping aside. They exchanged glances, perhaps envious of Olivia's blissful life. "All right, I think that's enough of a welcome hug," Olivia chuckled when Chris didn't let go right away. "The crowd has dispersed. There is no need for this act. Can you please let go now?" "Oh, do I have to?" Chris whispered by Olivia's ear, a mischievous smile playing on his lips. "I haven't had my fill just yet." His magnetic voice lingered in her ears, causing Olivia's face to flush red. She lightly patted Chris's arm and chided, "Stop fooling around." Chris didn't press the matter further. He relaxed his grip and instead placed his hands on Olivia's shoulders. Guiding her with a gentle nudge, he led her in a half circle, as if spinning her for all to see. She rolled her eyes, playing along, and when he was finished, he leaned into her. "Are you ready?" he asked. "Yes, I am." Olivia knew exactly what he was referring to and raised the corner of her mouth. I have been preparing for this since I got the invite. Indeed, she had fantasized about rewriting the past, avoiding certain mistakes, and making different choices since her stepmother told her about this party. Then, let's not waste any more time, Chris said. Ready to make our entrance, my sweet little fiancé? He teased. She shot him a look. Ready as I'll ever be. Olivia took a step forward and gently placed her right hand on Chris's elbow. Olivia? Chris? A voice called out from behind them, causing both of them to turn simultaneously. Francis? Olivia was taken aback. How could she have forgotten about him? Francis's family was very well off, so his attendance at the Cooper family's banquet wasn't that surprising. Olivia quickly gestured to him. Come over here quickly. But did he overhear anything? Olivia wondered, going back through her conversation with Chris to make sure neither had said anything incriminating aloud. I don't think we did, she thought. Francis walked toward Olivia, his gaze sweeping over both Olivia and Chris as he approached. So, you guys are engaged? Yeah, Chris interjected. It's complicated, Olivia interjected simultaneously. She rolled her eyes at Chris. Was there really a need to disclose that? If this were common knowledge at school, it could stand in the way of the ordinary high school life Liv yearned for. Our families are close, and they, want us to be married one day, she said, waving her hand like it wasn't really a formal thing at all. Chris raised an eyebrow. And we'd hate to disappoint our families. Francis nodded. Although he already had an inkling that Olivia's relationship with Chris was somewhat unconventional, he hadn't expected it to be this close. Are you the only one here today? Olivia surveyed her surroundings with caution. She was quite apprehensive about encountering more classmates from Marshall High. She preferred to keep her home life and school life as separate as possible, given how scheming and awful her stepmother and half-sister and cousins were. Yes, my parents couldn't make it. I'm attending on their behalf, Francis explained. I wasn't asking about your parents, Olivia frowned. I meant, did you see any other classmates? Oh, yes, I did, Francis nodded. At that moment, a high-pitched voice interrupted their conversation. Olivia? What a coincidence! Olivia turned to look and felt her mouth twitch involuntarily. What in the world is she doing here?